The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Salem Media of Hawaii.
Welcome to Generations Radio, where the focus is on our seniors and their families. We are here each Saturday afternoon from 5 until 6 p.m., bringing you resourceful information with our radio team of professionals in the field of aging. Stay with us for the next 1 hour as we explore different ways to make life more exciting and meaningful for our extraordinary seniors. Right here on AM 690 The Answer. And now, here is our host and the publisher of Generations Magazine, Percy Ihara.
So welcome back to Generations Radio, and Happy New Year. Actually, it's already going to be near the end of January very soon. I don't know if you can really, should you really still be saying Happy New Year and everything, all that? Okay. Anyway, it's amazing how fast 2017 went, but 2018 is moving even faster than last year. It's weird, as you get older, it seems like life moves a lot quicker than normally. You know, when you're young, you thought, wow, this is great stuff, and, you know, I don't want to get old. Well, I want to get old, but then after when you get old, you don't want to get old anymore. You want to be younger, but that's just the way aging is, huh? Yeah. Anyway, we have one of the most unique guys I've ever met, and we became good friends in a week, and it's amazing how much we're like best friends now, and like a brother to me. BFF. Not you, Ron, but Mr. Dave Nassaney from California, but a national speaker, and he's got a great story, and he found me here in Hawaii while he's on vacation, so I said, come on down, and so he came to our studio here, and I wanted him to tell his story, and so, Dave, you know, give us a little, you know, since you don't live here, but you have a lot more caregiving experience than anybody know, and you have a great book. We'll talk about the book and your own radio show, by the way. But give us a little bit of background, how this all started, and a little bit about your family, things like that, so our viewers and listeners can get a better idea of who you are.
Well, first of all, even though I don't, quote unquote, live here, I feel like I live here because we come constantly, a couple times a year.
Right.
I'm here now for 30 days because that's cheaper than buying a condo and paying the mortgage and dealing with the maintenance and the headaches and all like that.
Right.
So my wife and I consider ourselves Hawaiians, even though some people would disagree. So I've been married 42 years, and I just had my birthday. How old am I? I think
you told me 64.
64.
Sometimes but guys, he looks like he's like 54, and that's honest God truth.
See, he's my best friend. So that's why sometimes I don't remember how old I am, and that's a sign of old age.
That's okay.
So 21 years ago, my wife and I were getting ready to enter the empty nest syndrome of our life. You know, the kids were all grown up. They left the house. They got married. We got them out of the house, and we even had a couple of grandkids. And then one day my wife complains about a headache that she had for several days. Headache of her life. She wanted me to call Dr. Kevorkian and put her out of her misery.
Really?
That was that bad. She was kidding, of course. So what happened? We didn't go to the doctor. It was Labor Day weekend. Who goes to the doctor? We called take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning.
Right.
But unfortunately, by the 4th day, it was a tough story. My wife suffered a massive stroke. By the time the ambulance came, it was too late. She lost her speech, became paralyzed on the right side, and I instantly had something in common with, Queen Latifah, Henry Winkler, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and Hillary Clinton, all caregivers.
You know, I saw, if you go to Dave's website, and we'll give it out all the information later on. When I saw that, I was like, I did not even know they were caregivers. So mention those names again. Queen Latifah,
really? Hillary Clinton, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the Fonzie, Henry Winkler, and add Paul McCartney to the list.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
His wife was dying of cancer. Hillary was taking care of her mother. I mean, mostly it's the parents because, let's face it, we're only one fall away from your parent making you become a caregiver. So you break the hip, that's it. Caregiver overnight. So what happened was that I suddenly became a caregiver overnight, and I didn't even know what a caregiver was.
Very common.
It's really bad. So I decided that I would become Dave the Caregiver's caregiver because I went through hell. My wife went through the grief process. And for those of you who don't know what the grief process is, it's something, anytime you suffer a loss, you go through this process. I mean, first of all, it's denial, and then it's anger, and then it's some kind of bargaining, and then it's depression. And the goal is to get to that blessed place called acceptance. And sometimes it takes a while to get there. In my wife's case, it took her a couple of years. And she basically, her favorite emotion was anger. And since I was the closest one around, a lot of that anger was directed toward me.
That's a common thing, though.
Oh, yeah, very, very common. I mean, think about it. If you lost your speech and you couldn't communicate, and then we had to sell your beautiful house that you were going to, like, die in, and then we had to sell your car because you couldn't drive anymore because you had a seizure, and then all of a sudden your 2-year-old granddaughter, the joy of your life, is acting strange because you look a little strange, and now she doesn't relate to you anymore. She lost everything, and she was angry, man.
Wow.
She was really upset. And I was the only one around, so I got the brunt of her anger. And she was just so grieved that she wasn't the person that she was. And then I started grieving because of the same reasons. And so I was feeling guilty like every single day. And finally I just sat down and wrote her a letter because I didn't think I could do it anymore. I said, Charlene, why are you so mean to me? I mean, I know that everything has been taken away from you, but you're not making it easy for me to be your husband and take care of you. I mean, I feel no love and appreciation in return. And I just don't think I can be with you. I mean, I'll take care of you financially, but I can't be with you. And, you know, Percy, I read that letter over and over again. I just didn't have the heart to give it to her. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, I loved my wife. I wanted to be that guy who took care of her 21 years ago, but she was just making it so impossible. And then finally, I just didn't think about it. I didn't give it to her. And a few days later, I find this business card in my pocket. It was inviting me to a caregiver support group. And like I said, I didn't even know what a caregiver was. But I figured if somebody gave it to me, you know, I should probably go. So I went, and everything changed for me. All of a sudden, I met people who were just like me, burned out caregivers.
Right.
You know, I learned that if I didn't take care of me first, I couldn't take care of my wife. You know, the airlines tell us in the event of an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first before your loved one.
I like that. You know, I saw that on your video. By the way, this is Dave Nassaney, a caregiver for 21 years for his wife, and actually, you just spoke at Harvard.
Yep.
And you did a session with Suzanne Summers.
I did.
Was she a caregiver too? Is that the reason why she did it?
No, she's an entrepreneur, and I'm an entrepreneur. It was an
I see.
entrepreneurial club, and so she was promoting her new book, Toxic, TOX-SICK, about all the chemicals in the air and the water, and I was promoting my new book, which was It's My Life Too, Reclaim Your Caregiver Sanity. So I was able to share the stage with her and field questions from the audience, and then I also spoke, and she spoke.
Oh.
So it was she's amazing.
But do you still have that letter?
Which one?
The one that you wrote that you didn't get? Did you ever give it to her?
Yes, I still have it.
Did you ever give it to her?
No.
But she's heard this story, right?
Yes, she's heard the
she
story.
knows there's a letter out there.
And I was very nervous about telling a story because she didn't know it. And I didn't know how she would react. Because sometimes she doesn't react very well to the things that I say. Like, for example, when I was really, really burned out and I needed to get away and she was like driving me crazy, I brought in a babysitter to watch her. And then I just...
A babysitter, you call it.
Well, an adult sitter, I don't know. But in essence, they're kind of babies. I'm sorry, Charlene. But I hopped on a plane to see some relatives in New York. The next week, I hopped on a plane to see some relatives in Nashville. And the next week, it was, Florida. And so that was the best thing I ever did. I got away, little mini vacations. And what happened is when I got back, she somehow found out about it. And all of a sudden, she was upset. She says, how dare you go to New York without me? I mean, she didn't say that because she can't talk, but, non-verbally, I got the message. So when she heard that story of what I did, because she didn't know, she got very upset. So I'm very leery about sharing too much because, it's my wife.
Well, it's interesting. When I first met Dave, actually only last week, by the way, right?
Yeah, best friends in 1 week.
And I said, I got to meet this guy. So like him, he called me up. I was actually going to call him up, and I met with him and Charlene, his beautiful wife. And the relationship you folks have, I mean, yes, you were in front of me, and maybe you didn't want to do it, but it was very real. it was I thought very balanced, because even though she had limited speech, you guys got along very well. You kind of understood each other very well. Because that's one thing I noticed. I've never done caregiving myself, but when I talk to families and sit with hundreds and thousands of families in the last 15 years, I noticed there's an imbalance of relationship.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say lack of respect, but somebody wants to control the other, or somebody's doing more than the other. And you guys, I don't see that with you folks.
Well, we had a fairy tale storybook romance, like I said before, and for the first 21 years of our marriage, we were in love. We were just wonderful. We raised 3 daughters, and we just didn't want that to stop. Now, for those 2 years of grief, I didn't think my marriage would survive, and like I said, I was ready to leave. But as I started going to these caregiver support groups, I realized that, like I said, I had to take care of me before I can take care of my wife. And so I just stopped worrying about how she made me feel. I just took care of me. The selfish thing, take care of me so I can take care of her. And all of a sudden, I noticed she started slowly changing. It took a couple of years.
Did she ever go to, do the person you're caring for ever go to a caregiver? Or
we both went. They separate us in 2 rooms. So the caregivers go in one room, and the survivors, they call them, go in the other room. And it was so funny because all we do is we talk about them in the other room, about how they treat us.
Complaining, first of all.
And then they're talking about the caregivers, how mean we are and this and that. And I thought that was a riot.
The reason why is, I've been dealing with this family for 15 years, and it just popped in my head. Yeah, how does that recipient feel about what they're going through? Because if you get a chance, guys, by the way, your first book, Dave, was called One
Arm, One Leg, 100 Words, Overcoming Unbelievable Hardships. And that's just the story of our life. I gave you a copy of it.
And I read it.
Oh, my gosh.
I read it that night because I was so fascinated because, like I said, I'm one of the, if not the only person involved with Generations Magazine that doesn't have firsthand experience with caregiving. And so,
I hope I gave you a feel.
I have a good feel already, but what I liked about it is, besides your story, you not knowing you were a caregiver, but you have to. I think we all have to understand where that relationship was, and what made it break. But then you broke down the steps how you were able to handle it. Yeah. And can you talk about those steps? Off the top of my head, I don't remember what those steps were, but I have it in my mind about how the grieving process. There were 5 or 6 steps.
Yeah, the 5 stages of grief.
Right.
And so, okay, we'll talk about that. The first stage is denial. It's like, oh my gosh, suffered a loss. I can't believe this is happening to me. And let's just use a simple example, like your girlfriend just broke up with you, right? That's a loss to you. And so you're depressed. You don't know what to do. So the next stage is kind of like bargaining. So how can I fix this? How can I get out of this? So let's say you call
it from your point of view, not from her point of view.
Right, for the griever. Because she's, your girlfriend's glad she got rid of you, because, you were a bum. But to you, she was the light of your life. So you're the one who's grieving. So then you go into this unconscious bargaining stage. You say, well, how can I get her back? I know. And you go and you call her up and you say, can we just be friends? Can we still be friends? Just trying to get your foot in the door. But sometimes, with cancer or with death, it's not that easy. You can't just bargain your way out of death or cancer. So sometimes we'll go to God and we'll say, oh God, if you would just heal my wife, I'll go to church every week and I'll read my Bible and this and that. And whatever the bargaining situation takes, there is a bargaining situation. And it doesn't matter if you're bargaining with a person or you're bargaining with God. The next stage, after you realize that you're not in denial anymore, this is reality, and then you realize that bargaining isn't going to fix it, then you get angry. So you start lashing out, and it's your fault, it's her fault, it's the government's fault, it's the doctor's fault, it's the hospital's fault, it's the paramedic's fault. You just start the blame game. You're blaming everybody. Mm-hmm. And I certainly did that. We tried to do a lawsuit against the paramedics because they took my wife to the wrong hospital, caused her to have her stroke. But you know what? Doctors aren't going to testify against each other. So
right.
that went nowhere. Then after you realize that anger doesn't really resolve anything and it doesn't really help, then the next stage is depression. And that's a very serious stage because that's the time where most people commit suicide, right? Most people aren't going to think about taking their life unless they're depressed. And so there's a thing called sadness and there's a thing called clinical depression. So you got to know the difference. And if you are always waking up, you can't get out of bed, you don't want to shower, you don't want to eat, that sounds like clinical depression. You should go to the doctor. There's a thing called antidepressants. And a lot of people don't like them because they think they're drugs. No, I don't want to get drugged up. But all it's doing is it's reconstituting the chemical balance that was in your brain that is now out of balance. And so you don't feel high, you don't feel weird. It just makes you feel normal again because there is a chemical imbalance in the brain. So after you get through all of that, it took my wife a couple of years. She finally started coming around. She finally started decorating the house again. She's an interior decorator. We moved, and our house was white, the new house.
When you say she was coming around, is that because your attitude changed toward caregiving?
I would like to think that part of it is because I quit being, judging and reacting to her moods and stuff like that. Like I said, I stopped thinking about how she made me feel. I stopped worrying about how she made me feel. And I just took care of me so that I was strong enough to take care of her. So she was getting her needs met because I was taking care of her, and I was getting my needs met. I was ignoring her abuse. It was emotional and abuse. Every now and then she'd hit me or push me. But, she was grieving. I mean, if I was going through that, I would be doing the same thing. So we have to give people grace. So she started inviting people to dinner, started cooking again, wanted to go shopping and all this stuff. She used to be a Christmas nut, decorate the whole place for Christmas. That Christmas, she didn't do anything.
Wow.
So, I mean, there was something wrong with her, and we didn't like it because the doctor says, don't keep the pills, too close to her. And I says, oh, my gosh, what are you saying, that she could kill herself? He says, well, females usually like to use pills, overdose. Men prefer a gun.
Right.
So I'm just very grateful that whatever part I played in her reaching acceptance, whatever part God played, whatever part she played, because basically she got tired of feeling sorry for herself because she's an A-type personality. She did all these wonderful things. And I think she just decided, you know what? I have strong faith. If I'm still here, it means God's not finished with me yet. And I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to do all the things that I did before. And she did a lot of stuff before. She was like a cross between Martha Stewart and Wonder Woman. Right. and thus, she put on a dinner party for like 6 people with one arm and one leg and a handful of words. And she decorated the house, and she's just amazing. I come home, the food's on the table, the wash is in the washing machine, the dishes are in the dishwasher, the house is clean.
She did all that?
She does all that with one arm and one leg in her wheelchair.
Wow. Yeah.
She'll put things in her mouth, and she's got her hand on the joystick, and she's got her other hand like.
Wow.
I'm just amazed. She's like Wonder Woman. And so
when you say she had one arm, one leg, because she got her stroke affected one side of her body.
That's right. Her right side is paralyzed. She has no use of her arm. It just sits there. Her leg from, I'd say, the knee down is useless. So she can't walk, and she's in a power wheelchair. And because of the chair, she's mobile again.
You say power? Is that what you call that? Power?
Yeah, it's a
guys,
four-wheel.
If you want to meet Dave's wife, Charlie, I would highly recommend it because I have never seen a wheelchair like this. Probably the most high-tech wheelchair I've ever seen. First of all, it's got like these space-age wheels, and it turns on a dime, yeah?
Yes. It's a WHILL, W-H-I-L-L, Japanese technology.
Oh, really?
The front wheels do not turn. They're made instead of circular things that kind of go sideways.
Yeah, I didn't see a wheel, but yeah.
And so it's four-wheel drive. It'll go on hard-packed sand, gravel, grass, you name it. It'll go over mountainous terrain. It'll go up a 10% slope. So she can take that sucker anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And we do. I mean, we're here in Hawaii twice a year. And as a result of the speech, she still can't talk after 21 years, but she can communicate non-verbally.
Mm-hmm. No, I communicated well when you went to get the coffee.
While we're waiting for a restaurant, 20 minutes, I noticed she's talking to some guy, and I look back over there 10 minutes later, and they're talking and laughing and slapping each other on the back, and I said, what is going on? He didn't know she can't talk. And they're just communicating and having a great old time.
He couldn't speak either. But no, she can communicate well.
And she'll touch you and stuff like that. And so my claim to fame is I've always been known as the husband of Charlene, and I still am known, and I wear that badge proudly.
But you're known as Dave the Caregiver's caregiver now.
Yes, but I'm talking about the people who personally know me. That's Charlene's husband.
Well, I know you have your website. What's the best way? For me, I just Googled Caregiver's caregiver.
Yeah, you Google me. I'm everywhere.
David or Dave Nassaney, Nassaney.
Yes,
Nassaney.
Dave Nassaney. Or
Nassaney.
Just type in caregivers, caregiver.com.
Right, that's the easiest way to get it.
I'm Dave, the caregiver's caregiver.
And you get a lot of great YouTube videos here.
Hundreds.
If you got a chance, I would highly recommend, if you're a caregiver out there dealing with this issue, which a lot of our listeners are and our TV show viewers are, it's got a lot of great information. I would recommend you start off with that first book, One Leg, One Arm.
One Arm, One Leg, 100 Words, Overcoming Unbelief. Yeah, that'll introduce you to who I am and who Charlene is and how amazing she is. People say I'm amazing, but I disagree. I think she's more amazing.
She's taught you a lot, though.
She has. And, she has a very hard job. And sometimes I just feel bad that she's got it so hard. But then I look at me and I say, well, wait a minute. I've got it hard, too. So I'm not sure who has the tougher job, me or her. Her because she can't do all this stuff. Me because I have to watch her not do all this stuff. And
that's a good point. With for me, she's probably an overachiever like me. Is yeah, I don't know what I would do if I couldn't talk. I couldn't move one side of my body. I'm stuck in this wheelchair. I have to have somebody do all these things for me. It would just depress me, I think.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong, but I would probably just kill myself. Pull the guns out, but like the doctor said. But I don't recommend that, so don't do that.
Well, Dave, as a caregiver, I got to give you a lot of credit because when I first heard your story. You've been caregiving for 21 years.
21 years. We've been a caregiver as long as we've been married now because we've been married 42 years, 21 normal.
Half your marriage?
Half my marriage.
And she's going strong. You're going strong.
I don't feel like there's any disability. It's just a new normal. Yeah. And, I'm happy. We're happily married, just like we've always been happily married. Except for that 2-year period where I almost, wanted to kill her. We have a very good marriage. We're happy. And, I'm just thankful that God has given me the grace to be David, and God has given my wife the grace to be Charlene. Now, I don't have her grace, so that's why I couldn't do what she's doing.
Right.
And maybe you can't do what I'm doing because I don't have your grace, you don't have my grace.
I don't have your patience.
Well, I didn't think I had patience, but, God gives us tailor-made trials to help us reach the perfection that the Bible says we're supposed to reach on this earth before we go into the next life.
Yeah, so if you're listening, I highly recommend all your books are on Amazon or your website.
Amazon.com. Just type in my name, Dave Nassaney, Nassaney, or the title of the book. It's My Life 2, or One Arm, One Leg, 100 Words. And we have a radio show, too, Dave the Caregiver's Caregiver radio show. We've been doing this for 4 years. Usually I'm on the other side of the microphone.
I know.
In fact, I did interview you last week.
I did an interview with you and Adrienne Gruber, which she was great. I mean, I want to do more. So I have to do a little more research and see what you guys do because you guys are doing great work out there.
Adrienne's great. She has 160,000 followers on her Facebook page. And so I says, why don't we combine our audiences and become a more powerful force? And she said yes. And we've been doing this for 3 years with Adrienne. I was doing it by myself. And it's just good. I'm spit and she's polished. We make a good team.
That's a good way to put it. She is very polished. But the book, One Leg, One Arm? Or
one Arm, One Leg.
One Arm, One Leg,
100 words.
I recommend you do that first because like I did. Because it talks about your process, the grieving process, the 5 steps. Yeah. I think for anybody to accept being a caregiver, I think you have to know those processes. It's going to happen. Right?
It's definitely going to happen.
It's going to happen. And there's no way around it. You can't skip any steps.
No. And even my second book, it's not just for caregivers. First of all, if you know a caregiver, buy them a book, and you might be saving their lives because 30% of them actually die before their loved ones do.
And then we'll talk about Dave's other book, which I love the title. It's My Life Too.
Right.
So here with Dave Nassaney. Nassaney better?
Nassaney, yeah.
Nassaney from actually originally from New York, now from California. We'll talk about his caregiving role as Dave, the caregiver's caregiver. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
We will be right back with Percy Ihara from Generations Radio. If you have any questions or want to be part of our discussion, give us a call at 296-5467. That's 296-5467. This is Generations Radio on AM 690 The Answer.
Did you know residential care homes offer a family-oriented atmosphere? At Caregivers Heart Hawaii, our kupuna become part of the family. The smaller environment allows for more personal attention. For example, there's no waiting to go to the bathroom compared to other long-term care options. The patient-to-caregiver ratio is smaller and help is faster. Over time, residential care homes are less expensive compared to other long-term care options. Our caregivers are experienced and enjoy what they do, and all homes are ADA approved. Don't feel stressed and overwhelmed or try to do this alone. Aloha, I am Ku'unani Demonte with Caregivers Heart Hawaii. Let us help you with all your care home placement needs. Caregivers Heart Hawaii has knowledge and experience. For a free consultation and to learn more about us, go to caregivershearthawaii.com, where treating kupuna like family is our business.
When you feel like Vegas, there's just one place to stay. Grab a drink at the Holo Holo Bar, there's just one place to play. We got a fresh, hot look, a new sports book. We got those local meals, just like Auntie cooks. Aloha spoken here.
Check out the Cow's new renovated look and see why the Cow is Hawaii's favorite place in Vegas to stay and play.
Moon Physical Therapy is here to help you back to recovery. Moon Physical Therapy is located on Ward Avenue across from Sports Authority. Physician prescribed for motor vehicle accidents, workman's comp, or that body pain that comes from rushing to play without warming up. Also event cardiopulmonary rehabilitation with our one-on-one patient care. Moon's Aquatherapy heated endless pool allows for low-impact exercise with less pain on land. We will give you the right exercises to get you back to health. Ask your doctor to prescribe Moon Physical Therapy. Moon Physical Therapy. We achieve results.
If you're new to Medicare, we can help you work your way through all the questions, the details, and the headaches. Generations TV has gathered experts in the field to help you find the answers. This is Navigating Medicare.
Hi, I'm back again. This is Ed speaking on Medicare Hits.
A lot of people may not realize that they may qualify for extra financial assistance to help pay for their premiums and prescription drug costs, depending on their income and their total assets. These savings can be especially helpful for seniors who are on a fixed income.
Find out if you qualify. Call us.
Helping you work your way through the confusion. Navigating Medicare. Brought to you today by Financial Benefits Insurance, serving the entire state of Hawaii from the corner of Pi'ikoi and Kapiolani in Honolulu.
Oahu's newest senior living community, Ilima at Lehano, is now open in the heart of Kapolei. Within this beautiful new community, offering independent living, assisted living, and memory care, you will experience a feeling of ohana that provides a sense of community and peace of mind for our kupuna. A range of spacious apartment styles are available, from large studios to spacious 1- and 2-bedroom plans, most with a large private lanai. Be one of the first to call Ilima your home. Visit ilimaatLehano.com or call 674-8022.
Got Vegas on your mind? Get Vacations Hawaii on the line. Vacations Hawaii offers weekly 4- and 5-night Honolulu to Vegas packages, which include 3 meals daily from $6.99. Stay at Hawaii's favorite casinos: California, Fremont, Main Street Station, and Orleans Hotel. Vacations Hawaii will get you there in comfort on deluxe wide-body 767 planes with complimentary in-flight hot meal service. Vacations Hawaii's frequent flyer program gives you future travel discounts and credits. So if you're ready to win big, call Vacations Hawaii at 591-4777 or visit PointVacationsHawaii.com.
Hi, I'm Margaret Wong with the Copeland Insurance Group. Let us be your Medicare resource throughout the year. We have agents throughout the islands to be of assistance to you. So if you have Medicare questions, we have the answers. Call us at 808-591-4877. Again, 808-591-4877. Thank you. We look forward to hearing from you.
Today, more than ever, we local people are living longer than any other state in the Union, with more seniors, baby boomers, and caregivers. Generations Radio promotes the importance to be proactive as we all age. The radio team will focus on issues facing our seniors and their families, finding resources to navigate healthy aging along with financial, legal, and caregiving information. So join Percy Ihara from 5 until 6 each Saturday, right here on AM 690 The Answer.
5914-777. Shoot-a-wah. Who's got the best deals in Vegas around? Who's got the best job? Call 5914-777 today. Vacations Hawaii. Vacations Hawaii. Vacations Hawaii. Good luck, we go play. 5914-777 today. Good luck. We go play.
Complete 4 and 5 night packages from $6.99. Vacations Hawaii, your favorite connection to Vegas.
Focusing on the issues facing our seniors and their families today. Here's our Generations Radio host, Percy Ihara.
So welcome back to Generations Radio here. Thank you very much for tuning in again. And if you're listening on our website, on our YouTube channel, thank you very much. You know, we provide a lot of good information, a lot of contact information, a lot of emails, websites, phone numbers. So, yeah, that's one great way to go back and, you know, look for our resource information. As you guys have been listening, if you listened early on the show, we have Dave Nassaney from California. And he's a caregiver for the last 21 years. Actually, half his marriage. I was kind of amazed about that. Mm-hmm. I met him a week ago, and we become good friends. And he does a lot of great work for our caregivers out there. And that's one of the things I think I mentioned earlier in the past shows, that we're going to focus on caregiving for 2018. Besides all the other legal, financial, healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, Alzheimer's, all those above. But caregiving has been one of the major topics that we find people looking for information on our website, our social media page, all our shows. So we definitely want to focus. When I met Dave, like, wow, this guy, I got to meet. I met him and Charlene. And I think next time we come back, we might want to have her, because she's just a great influence on when you listen to you talking, Dave, and you see her there. The relationship you folks have is very, very special and very unique. And I love sitting there talking with her. And even though she's limited. But so anyway, Dave's a national speaker. He's spoken at Harvard last year. He spoke on CNBC or one of these other shows.
All 4 major networks.
All major networks on a national level, besides a local level in California. And we're looking at bringing him back later this year in 2018 to speak at one of our workshops. But Dave Nassaney, you know, one of the things that we're known for as a magazine, as a resource magazine, is that we want to provide information, great information like we did, but more tips on how that you dealt with the grieving process and how do you navigate life today?
Well, first of all, let me go over the 3 biggest mistakes that caregivers make, because that's a good place to start.
Only 3?
Or the top 3. So the first mistake that caregivers make is they don't know how to put their needs first. Now, I already told you, the airlines tell you, put your oxygen mask on first before you help your loved one.
I love that correlation there.
Yeah,
because it's so true.
What an amazing metaphor for all of life. Take care of you first, not out of selfishness, but out of survival. The second biggest mistake is caregivers don't know how to ask for help. I mean, everybody has a cell phone, right? Turn it on, use it, punch in the number. Say, hello, Mom, I need help. Grandma's driving me crazy. You know, call your brother, call your sister, call your wife's ex-husband, call anybody, but get over that silly notion that if you can't do it all by yourself, you're a failure as a caregiver.
Well, let me ask you, did you do that early on?
Of course. Everybody does it. You know, I'm the kind of guy who doesn't like to ask for help. You know, if I got this big, heavy thing that I'm moving in,
You're a guy.
and my neighbor is right over there and says, no, I don't want to ask him. And maybe it's because, you know, I don't want people asking me. That sounds terrible.
True.
That
No,
sounds terrible.
That's very true.
It's like,
I'm the same way.
You know, so I could do it myself, because it's like, okay, if he helps me, now I owe him, you know, now I'm obligated, and I don't like to be obligated.
Yeah.
So I'll do it myself. So I'm you know, balancing this 500-pound thing on my back and stuff like that. So, yeah, I didn't want to ask for help, because like I just said, if I should be able to do this. I can do anything, right? I can be a caregiver, sure, no problem. But, you know, you can't. No caregiver can do it themselves, or they're going to kill themselves.
Yeah.
So the third biggest mistake caregivers make is they allow undeserved guilt to affect their decision-making process. Now, back in the day, there was a show on television about a caregiver taking care of his elderly father. He was in the junk business.
Sanford and Son.
It was called Sanford.
One of my
and Son.
favorite shows. I used to have their tune on my phone as my ringtone, for real.
Something just
That's
connected with people with that show. You know, Fred Sanford would constantly be guilting his son into doing whatever harebrained scheme, and he did it with undeserved guilt. Do you remember how he did it? Oh, it's the big one. No, son, really, it's the big one. Elizabeth, I'm coming for you, honey.
That's so true. That's right.
And Lamont fell for that con every single time, and caregivers are the same way. You know, it's almost like being handcuffed to your loved one for the rest of your life as a prisoner. I mean, that kind of guilt will kill you. So that's just the top three. I mean, there's other things that you can do as a caregiver.
Well, I wanted to go back. You mentioned when I read your book, there are 5 grieving periods or stages.
Yes.
How do you handle, if you can break down, I mean, we'll have you back on, but how do you break down those stages, and how did you overcome that? Was just
Well, denial kind of overcomes itself, you know, unless you're going to be delusional and you're like one of those people walking down the sidewalk talking to themselves, and you're just reality doesn't mean anything to you. Now, I have a mother-in-law who's got dementia, and she doesn't know she has dementia because a doctor hasn't diagnosed her.
Okay.
And even if I've told her she has dementia, but she doesn't believe it. So she thinks that all the things in her house that she can't find, that she really loses.
You stole it.
She thinks I stole it, relatives stole it, the caregiver stole it. She's fired 4 caregivers, called the police on them because she was convinced that they stole things. And so I put cameras in her home now. So she'll call me up and says, when I was taking a nap, somebody took my thing, it was on the table. And I said, well, hold on, let me check. No, you were the only one in the house, just you and the cat and the dog. No, they were in here. I says, well, then they were invisible. So she creates delusions. What is a delusion? A delusion is something that you make up to make the reality that you think is reality, reality in your mind. So if something is missing and she can't find it, then she makes up this thing that somebody broke into the house and stole it. Sure. And then she'll wake up in the morning and all these things are missing. So somebody's breaking into the house when she's sleeping. And I keep telling her, nobody broke in. It was just you. So denial, unless you can safely get out of it, you'll become delusional. You will start making up falsehoods to be your reality. So how did I get over my denial? Most rational people can get over denial in a short period of time because you can only deny that this isn't happening to me, but you look over at your wife and she can't talk, she can't walk.
Still.
So, and of course the doctors are very helpful in trying to pull you back into reality. So denial isn't a problem for most people. So you kind of get out of it by yourself.
Okay.
Reality helps you get out of denial. The second stage is bargaining. You know, if in my case, the only one I could bargain with was God. So I had a good relationship with God, and I pleaded with him, she's going to be all right. She's going to be healed, you know, and all of this stuff. But after a while, you know, the days turned into weeks, the weeks turned into months, the months turned into years, the years turned into decades. After a while, you realize, well, maybe there's a reason that, a lot of good people have bad things happen to them. And I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to find out when I get to heaven.
Right.
And a lot of good people aren't healed. Some are. So I have discovered that my wife is more amazing now, today, in her present condition, than she was before her stroke. And she has more influence on more people today in her present condition than she did before her stroke. So if we believe in a God and we believe in our destiny, obviously it's her destiny to be going through this, as sad and as depressing as that may sound. But let's face it, there are many people. Helen Keller, right? Look at what she has accomplished. And all you got to do is Google disabled famous people, and the list is endless. And you say, oh my gosh, I didn't know that guy had this or that, you know. So, and then the next stage is anger. Now, anger can be good, get it out of your system, right? You ever meet people who just never get angry, Well, they are getting angry. They're just internalizing it. They're keeping it inside.
Not a good thing.
They're the ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
They're the guys who, after one little straw on the camel back, and then they go what's called postal, right? The postal workers, all of a sudden, they kill everybody because they had all this anger that was internalized. So it's good to have anger, but express your anger. There's a reason you're angry. It's normal to be angry. So I was angry. I was angry at a lot of people. I was angry, like I said before, at the doctors in the hospital because it was their fault. It was paramedics. It was his fault. And it was. But what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it. You have to accept it. And
that's the difficult part, though.
Acceptance is very difficult. Sometimes it takes months, years. Some people never reach acceptance.
Right.
So in our show, in our introduction, I say, if you feel like you're stuck in your ability to get to acceptance, we can help. Because I knew somebody who went to our church who was still grieving because her fiance, she was getting married, first time in her life. She was so happy. And all of a sudden her fiance just drops dead. And 5 years later, she's still grieving. She still has his picture on her Facebook page. And I made the mistake of approaching her and say, it's been 5 years. Maybe it's time to move on. And man, she just crucified me. How dare you say I move on? You don't know how long it takes for certain people to grieve and blah, 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 blah. And so I've learned, don't rush a person's grief if they're not ready to move on. So that's how I got through the grief.
This all through a 2-year period?
2-year period, which seemed like forever. But as I look back now, it just seems like a little speed bump in the road, a little hiccup. So the thing, depression, of course, I forgot depression. And there was a time that I was depressed, but my faith in God and my faith in destiny and my faith in purpose got me through that quickly. Because like I said, if I'm still here, if she's still here, if we're going through this, there's a verse in the Bible that says, if everything you're going through, you wouldn't be going through if you couldn't handle it. And sometimes we don't feel like we can handle it. Many times I say, I can't handle this. But you know what? I woke up the next day. I was still alive. Apparently I handled it.
So true. So true. I want to take a little bit of time because I have still yet to read the book that you're going to give me. It's called It's My Life Too. It's My Life Too. Reclaim your caregiver sanity by learning when to say yes and when to say no. It's perfect for caregivers who know they should be putting their needs first, but they just don't know how. And let me expand on that because about 30% of caregivers will actually die before their loved ones do. That high, 30%.
Yeah.
I know it's growing.
And the ones who don't die, the lucky ones, they just keep living. Well, it turns out that they're just going to become sicker than the ones they're caring for.
Yeah, statistically
and they're going to
wise.
Eventually need a caregiver of their own.
Yeah. They lose I think it's like 5 years. If you've been caring for somebody over 10 years, there's something like 4 to 5 years you lose on your life.
Yeah. So what's up with that? I came up with a CARE formula, C-A-R-E. C stands for communicate with others. Don't isolate yourself. Caregivers need a life outside of caregiving.
So many do isolate themselves.
Yeah.
So, I can name 5 right now. People that I know personally that are doing that right now. I've been trying to get them out and get them out.
Everybody used to have hobbies and interests. Go back to your hobbies. I love bike riding, so I still bike ride. I used to go to Mexico twice a year and ride from Rosarito Beach to Ensenada, 51 miles through the mountains. And I still do that. I'll go to the beach now. If I need a break, I'll take the day off, and I'll go ride the bike path, 10 miles in one direction, 10 miles in the other direction, get exercise. It's just something about riding with the ocean on your right side and then coming back and the ocean's on your left side and all that fresh air. And you come back rejuvenated.
Mm-hmm.
But
a lot of caregivers will say they don't have the time or they can't get away.
Well, you know what? Like the man said on that show, you can pay me now or you can pay me later, but you're going to pay me. So you can either take a voluntary break or nature will give you an involuntary break. You will have a heart attack. You'll have a stroke. You'll have a seizure. God knows you'll have an ulcer, bleeding ulcer. Anything can happen. And you should be in control of your health and your body because your body, it's like my cell phone. All of a sudden, I won't be paying attention and I'm got a very important call, and all of a sudden it's flashing 2%, 1%. Oh my gosh, when did that happen? And our bodies are the same way. after a while, the human body is an amazing thing. It can take a lot of abuse, but after a while, it's going to shut down, just like that phone did. So you can either take care of yourself, or your body will force you to take care and to take a vacation.
That's probably the best tip that any caregiver could probably have.
So the A stands for ask for help, and be specific about the help, And for goodness sakes, if somebody offers help, don't turn it down. I can't tell you all the people that, hey, do you need anything else? No, I'm good. It's like I said before, people think they can do it all themselves. And I just don't get that. But like I told you, I'm the kind of guy who don't like to ask for help. So the R in care stands for rest. Caregivers need 8 hours rest every single night. But the average caregiver gets, how many? 2 to 3.
Yeah.
I can't survive on 2 to 3 hours sleep. Can you?
No.
I can barely survive on 7.5. I got to make it up somehow. And the E stands for eat healthy, nutritious foods. Don't eat junk food. Junk food has chemicals and sugar and processed ingredients.
Yep.
All that stuff will kill you.
Yep.
And that's why I do my segment, how to prevent your loved one's illness or disease from actually killing you. Because people are dying. And so my mission in life is to raise the awareness that caregivers are dying, because I want to save caregiver lives. So I wrote this book.
And so, now, was there another book that I'm not aware about?
There is another book. I am a gas station owner. And everyone thinks that's so amazing. I go to parties and say, "Oh, you own a gas station." All of a sudden, I'm surrounded by a bunch of people, and they all got their gas station questions. The oil company's really as evil as we hear, This was during the gas shortages when there were lines and everything. I assume you had lines here in Hawaii. Yeah. And can you set your own prices? And just all kinds of questions. So I wrote a book called "Getting Hosed: Secrets, Confessions, and Tales of a Gas Station Owner." So this book answers every single gas station question that you ever had. Oh. So, because I get asked the same questions over and over again. So I said, I'm going to write a book. And so now when they ask me a question, I says, buy the book. So that's Getting Hosed, if you want to buy that one on Amazon.
But so Dave's website, Dave, the Caregiver website, has a lot of different things. It has all your interviews, by the way. Now, you have a coaching program. How does that work?
Well, it's still in the process, but every now and then I get someone who need a little more. The book is good and it helped, but it's not enough. And the radio shows help. I've got like 200 radio shows on every topic you can imagine. And the website is great, but it's just not enough. Some people need to be held by the hand, and they have specific problems. They have things they've got to get over. So I'm acting like a counselor. So we'll make a deal and negotiate a price. I'll give them my phone number, and they're allowed to call me, and then we can get through that.
And what are some of the biggest questions are people looking for when they find out you had 21 years experience? What are some of the major things that they need help with, you think, besides all of the above?
Well, number one, a lot of them just want to know, they just want hope, first of all, because their life is just shattered. When I found out, I needed hope. So my hope was that God was going to heal my wife. I'm sure glad I didn't know that 21 years later I would still be dealing with this. Otherwise I don't know what I would have done. I'm glad that I was on a need to know basis. So I do give them hope. I says, you know what, you're going to get through this. This is temporary. If they're going through depression, this is temporary. You don't do anything that's permanent, because this isn't permanent. This is temporary. Somehow you're going to get through this. So if I can give them hope that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and don't give up. Like I almost gave up, I almost left my wife. I almost did a whole bunch of stuff that would have been really, really bad. So I realized that there's caregivers out there suffering and hurting,
thousands,
and feeling lost and alone. And I don't want them to hurt anymore. I want to help their pain. And I don't want them to give up like I almost gave up. So that's why I became Dave the Caregiver's Caregiver. I now host that. I turned it into a membership site now. I offer resources. I do blogs and articles. And I interview guests who have not only survived caregiving, but have thrived. And then I produce uplifting videos and weekly conference calls. And like I said, the coaching program. So it's a very thorough site that will help people get through this thing called caregiving.
Yeah, I'm actually on your site right now, and I just realized all your radio shows are there. Under
hundreds and hundreds. On every topic. If you've got a topic you're struggling with, just go through the list. You will find something.
I'll tell you.
Each show is an hour.
And it's just on caregiving too.
Yeah.
Nothing like we do a lot of Medicare, Social Security. This is just specifically on caregiving. So guys, this is a great website. I'm going to go look into that. I'm going to be using you as a resource because that's what we do with the magazine. All our entities is we try to provide resources for our caregivers, and a lot of our baby boomers are caregivers. But 21 years,
that sounds like a long time, doesn't it?
It is a long time, Dave. But it's amazing how after 21 years, I sit here talking to you, you're still as fresh as I think you are. I mean, you're still healthy and still going strong. If most people in the caregiving world, they can tell them, they're disheveled. They don't take care of their hygiene. They don't care what they're wearing. Their skin and bones.
I know people like that.
So many. But Dave, you're not.
And you know what even enhanced my good health and my appearance and all of that is I went on my book and media tour starting in August, even before it was published. And I've been traveling all across the country. I've appeared on 16 morning shows on all major networks. I'm chasing subways. I'm chasing airplanes. I'm chasing buses. And it just makes you young, and it's fun. It's exciting. I'm having a great time sharing my message. I'm excited that other people think that my message is valuable enough to put me on television, because that's kind of an affirmation. Because, you wonder after a while, am I wasting my time? Is anybody buying my book? Is anybody watching me? Is anybody listening on the radio? It's like the why me? Why should anybody listen to me? Who am I? And you got to get rid of those voices in your head.
Yeah. Well, you are going to be out and about in Hawaii, and hopefully we'll bring you back later on in the year. But I was looking on your website here. Is there anything specific to dementia that you could give our listeners out there? Because right now there's 27,000 caregivers, people with Alzheimer's that are documented in Hawaii, and 76,000 caregivers. So it's not one caregiver per person has Alzheimer's. 3 caregivers per person. And is there anything you could tell our listeners about caring for something like that? Even though your wife doesn't have
I happen to be an expert in dementia because my mother had dementia for several years, and we had to move her out of her home into a independent living, and then we had to move her out of independent living into assisted living, and then we had to move her from assisted living into a nursing home, and then we had to move her from a nursing home into a hospice. And so I know a thing or two about dementia. Now my mother-in-law has it, as I mentioned before, and we need to get her to a doctor so that this thing can be diagnosed and she can stop saying, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me, I pass the doctor's test every time he gives it to me. And I don't get that, because you can talk to her for an hour or two and she sounds normal.
Right.
And yet she doesn't remember what she told you 1 minute ago. Or she'll turn the stove on. She's not allowed to do that anymore, but she'll turn the stove on. Someone will knock at the door, and she'll just have an hour-long conversation with her as smoke is pouring out of the kitchen. So with dementia, I found out from experience that a lot of people think that as you get dementia, people forget about who you are. They'll forget your name, they'll forget that you're the child or whatever. But that's not true. What they're really doing is their mind is going back to a different time when the 40-year-old child looks like they're 13. So in the parents, in the dementia patient's mind, it's not that they don't recognize their daughter. They just remember their daughter as 13 or 20 or 6 or whatever that age is, wherever they are in their mind. And you don't resemble a 6-year-old anymore. You're a 40-year-old, balding, overweight man, And to prove that I'm right, there was a situation where the husband was knocking at the door, and she recognized the voice, but as soon as he opened the door, she says, "Who are you?" So there you go.
Yeah, they forget people's names, things like that. But anyway, Dave, thank you so much. This hour went by pretty quick.
They always do.
You have so much great information. Dave, the Caregivers, Caregiver website.com. But I would highly recommend, if you have information, you need information, or want to use Dave, I highly recommend read his book. And I think, for myself, I've always been one to try and research issues and things. And I think it's really important to read your book, it gave me a better sense of who you are and what you're going through. So
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. And you gave it to me, so it's great. My birthday present. But anyway, Dave, thanks so much. You will hopefully see him later on in the year, so look for that. Might have to have you write an article for the magazine as well. So, Dave, thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you, and happy birthday.
Yeah, and listen, have a great stay the rest of the time you're here.
We will. Paradise. How can you not have a great stay?
Okay, gang. Well, every Saturday from 5 to 6, Sunday from 3 to 4 here on AM 690, The Answer. And don't forget, go to our website, generations808.com. As always, everybody, aloha and live well.